What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to Short Prints. My name is Mike. His name is Joe. His name is EP, and we're here to talk about cards. Specifically, we're going to tell you this week why the 90s were better than it is today.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about the best of the 1990s, why it kicks butt over anything released in 2022. Joe, get us started.
I was going to try and think of some 90s pop culture things to throw in here, but I'm old. I can't remember all the way back then, but I can remember cards. So the first one on my list, I'm going to go with the medallions, gold and platinum from Fleer Ultra. They don't make them anymore. It's a real bummer, but those sets were so much fun. We've waxed poetic about Fleer Ultra and the photography and the cards and the no borders and all those things. But the subsets, they had the gold medallion, which obviously it was the same card and it was, wrapped kind of in gold. And then they had the platinum, which sometimes were numbered, sometimes they were die cuts. But those were, what were those, Mike? Were they a case hit at the time, or were they every few boxes? I know the gold you got.
Pull, platinums are numbered to 100, but so they were really tough to pull.
Yeah,
some of them were even lower too.
Yeah, some were like 25 or 75 or whatever. But those were just such cool cards. The platinums were super hard pulls. The gold you could get a few per box, but the combo of Fleer Ultra being such a fun set, plus this parallel, it wasn't like the 70 parallels that Prism and Select have nowadays. You got two. You got the base card, but then you had the two parallels, and those parallels, even to this day, are worth some money. I had a Jake Plummer from 1999 that sold on eBay like this for 1999, and it was on there for a day, and people were like jumping all over it. People love them, and that would be a fun set to build. A from your favorite 90s set, build a gold medallion set. How cool would that be?
Yeah. I actually sold a Joey Harrington and a David Carr platinum medallion. And I have a Eric Metcalf platinum medallion that I posted a picture of on Twitter, and he actually liked the tweet. So I thought that was
awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, EP.
I love Ultra gold medallion and platinum medallion as well. Like Ultra is one of my favorites.
I was surprised that wasn't yours. Yeah.
Well, I mean, some people
I beat him to it
before me, so yeah, some people have to list before me. But that's fine. I went with this is a base card. This is 1999 Ovation. This is a base card. It looks better than most insert sets this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a phenomenal card. And I just the football design in the background. You got the action shot with a cutout of the player. Just an amazing that's the kind of base cards that we were getting in the 90s compared to. I mean, they're nicer than some insert sets right now. I love the Ovation series. The baseball set, the baseball in the background. The football one's a couple different variations, but I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah, embossed cards were pretty big back in the day, and they're kind of textured on them. It was the baseball are awesome too because they looked like a baseball.
Right. And they had the
really
stitching.
Cool, really unique. Yeah, one of my favorite sets too.
I really appreciate those because they didn't brick. They had the embossing.
It was the embossing.
When you try and collate them.
Okay, if you've watched any of our videos before, my first choice is the Dufex process by Pinnacle. Be it a Z team, if you call it museum collection, if you call it trophy collection, if you call it rink collection, I don't care. I want the card. Just still beautiful to this day. Unfortunately, from what I understand, the process isn't around anymore. The company that printed it in the UK isn't around anymore. So it's kind of a lost process. We'll probably never see it again, but wow, those cards really, I mean, they more than hold up against anything today. A little side bit too. I really think the hockey ones, the rink collection, because of the ice, were actually the best looking out of all the sports too, because they were just, something with the ice and the way the process was done is really cool. So my pick, shocking, Dufex.
I'm going to just interject one quick thing. Go ahead, Joe.
No, you go ahead. Interject.
Like when you brought this topic up for us, up with us, my first thought was I have a Tiki Barber Trophy Collection rookie card. That is one of my favorite cards in my collection. And I was like, man, that's the card I'm going to bring up. And then I saw your list and I had the Dufex. Like, well, I'm not bringing that one up, but
you knew I had that. Yeah.
So I would say this would be all of our number ones, but it's Mike's name on the podcast, so we had to give it to him. I think.
Yeah. Well, we also built the Z team, and he's been talking it up for.
Yeah. So we got to give Mike the Dufex.
Yep.
If my big head wasn't in the way, you could see my Z team.
Yeah, it's such a great set. My number 2. This is a some people might not remember these Pro Bowl hologram cards from Upper Deck.
Yes.
You remember these?
Oh yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is one the Hollow View, and you looked at it, and it was back in the corner, and Michael will probably throw a picture up, but in the one corner you had the player's face, and it was like that 3D hologram thing, which back in the mid 90s was like mind blowing. It was like, how did they do this? And then the rest of the card was in the Honolulu colors. They were in the Pro Bowl uniform, and it had a little shine to it, kind of like a chrome refractor shine to it. They were really tough to get. I don't think you got one per box, so I'm guessing it was one every couple of boxes. But I had a John Elway one. I sold it to a John Elway collector. They're not worth terribly much, but I just remember getting those. And the Pro Bowl is a thing of the past, kind of like some of these cards we're talking about. So I don't think we'll ever see many of these, but they were just such cool cards, so innovative at the time, because those 3D things, where you saw them? Comic book cards. Those 3D holograms, you didn't see them in sports cards. You saw them in comic book cards. So to see them and the players' faces, you could turn and it would be a different angle. It was just such a cool card back in those days. Upper Deck, as much as I praise Pacific, Upper Deck was very innovative back in the mid to late 90s.
Especially with hologram stuff. And,
Upper Deck and hologram was a big thing.
Again, that's another thing you don't see anymore, do you? I'm not do they not make any kind of hologram cards?
I don't think they do.
I don't think so, no.
Crazy. Yeah. All right, EP, number 2.
My second one is a set, and it is a set that is still around, and it's Molten Metal. I mean, maybe Molten Metal is not around, but this right here is an actual metal card. And so the reason I bring this up is because Skybox and the metal brand is only available in hockey right now. And back in the 90s, you had metal and non-sports upper deck brands. So you could get the metal in anything, metal anything, and it was awesome. Like I was going through a bunch of cards and all the metal basketball cards I have. Just like that's such a cool. All the sets were cool. The insert sets were also cool, and to not have that available now is a little upsetting. So Molten Metal was being my favorite of those. Was my next pick.
Yeah, the Molten Metal was like they kind of had metal, and then the Molten Metal was kind of their premium version of their metal set. Yeah. So they were really cool.
And that Donald Driver, I actually found 2 of those. That's his rookie card.
I have 4.
I found. So you could sell them on eBay. People love that card. You can sell on eBay for $30 or $40. I kept one. He won't because he doesn't sell things on eBay. But I kept one from my PC. I wasn't a huge Donald Driver fan, but that card and those cards, I have a Brock Heward. They're just such cool cards. They got the heft to them and everything. The rookies were really, really cool that year, especially.
All right, my number 2 is also a set. And if you watch any of our videos, you might not be surprised by this either. I'm going to go with the 96-97 Fleer EX. 96-97 basketball. It was 97 baseball and football with the window, the color tinted window in the background. Like just mind-blowing at the time. And still, I think it is more unique and cooler looking than anything that's put out today. I'm gonna cheat a little bit too because they also had the a cut above die cut cards in them, which are insanely popular today. But again, just so innovative, and I think it holds up and surpasses most of the stuff that's put out today. So much innovation and creativity that we don't see anymore. I love the EX set.
So
awesome. Kobe record from that year is awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, EP, that Crystal did a Q&A video recently, and someone asked him what his favorite Kobe Bryant rookie card is. That was it. And when he said it, I didn't think of Crystal. I thought of Mike Lutz, because you've been talking about that card on the podcast quite a bit. I mean, it's a really cool set. Skybox EX is just awesome across the board.
Yeah.
Skybox cards.
I almost plunked down about $1,500 on a Brady last night. I contained myself. I didn't do it, but that's such a cool set. So speaking of innovation, speaking of the 90s, there's only one person that I can put a name to, and that's Kramer, right? So what was his first name? Was it Matt Kramer? Mike Kramer. I literally pulled this up before we started the pod, because now I feel bad for not remembering it. But so the original, the founder of Pacific, maybe. I feel really bad not knowing it. Mike, put it up there. Put it up there.
I will. It's right there. Just look right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Everyone knows. Everyone can see it. But
clearly we knew.
Clearly we knew. I literally wrote it down, which really upsets me. But the innovation at Pacific across the board was awesome. And they still make some of that product today, because Panini bought the license from Pacific, who play off and that whole line of sales. To me, the best insert from the 90s, we talked about it a couple pods ago, Kramer's Choice, right? That was just such a cool insert. Mike, you looked up the numbers for me. It was about one per case. You would get in their actual case hits.
1 in 720 packs.
That's when you had 36 packs in a box.
20 box.
20 box per case. And they were actual case hits, and I don't think there was any hologram code telling you where they were at. So it was even a double bonus. But those cards, Mike's going to throw the picture up. It was like a little award. And it was a die cut. And when you got one of those, it was like, holy shit, I got a Kramer's Choice. Like
if you got one,
right.
If you got one, I never pulled one.
I don't think I did either.
Mm-hmm.
And we opened a lot of Pacific. We opened a lot of it, because it was always one of the first sets to come out. So to pull one of those Kramer's Choice, it was shocking. And it was just such a cool card. It has the kind of like a hollow foil kind of effect to it. It's got the player on kind of a plaque. It's a really, really cool card. One that Panini has the rights to, that I really, really wish that they would come out and make at least one insert set of.
Yeah, that's one of those cards. Like, it's hard for people now to even understand. Like, you knew they existed, but you never saw them.
It's
like the day before the internet and stuff, before you could see this, like, you knew this card was in there, but like, you knew you never got them. Like, it was so cool.
It like epitomizes the legendary card, like that card that you knew, that you heard about, and you can see it on the odds or whatever, but you never have actually seen one of them.
Yeah,
like
never pulled one out myself.
And I believe it was Mike Kramer, by the way, was his name.
I think it was too.
And he had bobbleheads made. Like, that's how innovative he was. He had bobbleheads of himself made that you could buy back in the day. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
I love how we kind of transitioned, like you good transition from yours to mine, because I'm talking about innovation too. What I have is a Skybox Apex insert. This is Kobe Bryant cutting edge die cut. It was really tough to pull. I only probably got 2 packs of this, but you look up Skybox Apex, and I think they only had it for like 1 year. And I want to talk about Skybox Apex because of that. Like, you think about the number of sets they were putting out. Like, it was a new sets every year, several new sets. And on top of that, every one of these had new insert sets. You go back and look up insert sets in the past and type in a player's name and the name of the insert set, you're likely only going to get one result. And they were naming new insert sets and new sets, and they were doing this like from 1997 to 1999. There was just so much of it, but they were cranking it out. And I like to think that led to, I mean, it definitely led to innovation and led to a better environment, a better collecting environment, because they were doing that stuff. So that's I want to talk about Skybox Apex because of that.
that was a period in time where they were, instead of just being on autopilot and putting out what they put out, they were all
Yes.
trying to outdo each other. Like
Yep.
every product they're looking at it saying, how can we make this better? How can we make, people want to buy our Fleer product instead of Upper Deck or instead of Tops?
Because
And
there was actual competition.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the lack of competition is, we talk about it all the time. That's the big problem now. But like, to be able, you can look back and see the card like that they came out with, how awesome they were. And it was all because they were trying to do better than the other
Yep.
company. And wow.
I feel like there were meetings where they had everything figured out. This is what Stadium Club is going to be this year. And then they come in the next day and Tom comes in and says, hey, listen, I got an idea for a really cool insert set. Like, let's do it. And they would add it in because it was, I mean, they just
Throw
wanted
it
to
up
add really
against the
cool
wall.
stuff.
If people like
Absolutely, yeah.
it, we'll keep doing it. If they don't,
Yep.
we'll discontinue and try something new next year. That's exactly what they would do.
All right, my number 3, honorable mention, the Topps Laser. By the way, I just opened a couple boxes of the baseball, and I was looking at those cards thinking, wow, imagine if somebody today did like a chromium kind of card with like a refractor with a Topps Laser process. That would be awesome. But I digress. Mine is the mid-90s Bowman Best Atomic Refractors. I picked this because one of the most popular inserts still around today, one of the most popular parallels, came from the 90s. And I don't know if you guys remember, but like those Bowman's Best Atomic Refractors popped way more than they do today. Like some of those, I think I had a Bob Abreu. It was like some kind of special international baseball thing, but the colors on it, it was like red and white and blue, and it just like the color exploded off of the card. And I just, some really valuable cards from back then, but I think the actual process of it was better then than it is now. So, have to tip my hat to that. Like, it was so hard to get anybody good.
Peyton
I
Manning's
got
rookie
Atomic
card from that.
Refractors. I know. Why couldn't I get that?
Cool card.
Like, and they're cards that people wanted back then too, really badly. Yeah.
And Panini tries with like the cracked ice and things like that. It's just not the same. It just doesn't look as good. I don't know what the process is that Bowman and Topps could do back then, but you look at an Atomic Refractor from back then and compare it to some of the cracked ice from now, which is a similar looking card.
And Topps still does Atomic Refractors, but they're just not. Yeah.
Since it's baseball, I really don't.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like this year's Topps Chrome refractors actually look better than they have in a couple of years. And I don't know if they changed the process, but you listen to Lico do his videos and some of his 1990s rookie cards when he shows, and he said, look at the shine on this refractor. And I feel like it was kind of lost, but I feel like this Topps Chrome really, for some reason, has some sort of extra juice in it. It's really looks good.
Okay, well, there's our visual evidence why the 90s were better than 2022. If you don't agree with us, fight us in the comments. We'll take you on. But that was a fun one, guys. We'll be back next week. Take care.
Adios.
See you, boys.